She called me her only one, said I was the reason she woke up every morning, but her messages weren't just for me. Turns out I was one of 4. I gave her my heart, my pension, and nearly everything else. The worst part? I still wanted her to pick me. Just last week, I got an email from a longtime viewer of this channel. He wrote, "I watched your last story and couldn't stop shaking. Not because it was shocking, but because I saw myself in it. I thought I was the only one still hoping she'd choose me, even after everything she did." Reading that hit me in a way I didn't expect. I set my phone down and just sat in the quiet. There was this slow wave of something I can only describe as shame and recognition. Because I remembered that moment too, when I knew I was one of many and still held on to the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, I was different, that maybe I still mattered. It's hard to admit how far we'll go just to feel wanted, even when the truth is staring us in the face. That email reminded me that I'm not the only man who's been there. And it's why I keep telling these stories, not for sympathy, but for someone out there who hasn't found the words yet. If you're here tonight, and this story sounds a little too familiar, hit that like button, leave a comment, and tell me where you're watching from. I read everyone. And to those of you who keep coming back, thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. You've turned this space into something real, something honest. Because even when we lose everything, truth still has a place. And tonight, I want to share mine, not to dwell, but to let it go. Let me take you back to where it all started. The rain tapped against the tin roof like gentle fingers, and I watched Chavina laugh at something I'd said about Minnesota winters. Her hand found mine across the small wooden table, warm and soft, and for the first time in 3 years I felt alive. Really alive. "You make me happy, Harlan," she said, her English careful but clear. "I never meet man like you before. I believed every word. Why wouldn't I?" At 66, after Linda passed and the kids scattered to their own lives, I thought connection was behind me. But here in this little lakeside cafe in Chiang Rai, with the smell of jasmine and coffee mixing in the humid air, I felt like maybe life had more to give. "You're special too," I told her, meaning it. She squeezed my fingers and said something that would echo in my head for months. "You are my only one, Harlan. Only you understand me." The words hit me like sunlight after years of winter. I'd come to Thailand looking for peace, maybe some adventure before my body gave out completely. Instead, I found her. Chavina was 28, worked at this cafe mornings, and did translation work afternoons. She had this way of tilting her head when she listened, like every word mattered. When she smiled, her whole face changed, made me forget about the arthritis in my knees and the gray in what was left of my hair. "I was so alone before you," she whispered, tracing circles on my palm. "Now I wake up thinking of you. How could I not fall for that? How could any man not want to be someone's reason for sunrise?" The rain grew heavier, drumming louder on the roof, but neither of us moved to leave. We just sat there, her hand in mine, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about growing up poor in the countryside, about dreams she'd put aside to take care of family. I told her about 30 years of long-haul trucking, about Linda's battle with cancer, about the quiet house back in Duluth that felt more like a tomb than a home. "You have kind heart," she said. "I can see in your eyes. You love deep, yes?" I nodded, feeling something crack open in my chest. "Yeah, I love deep. Always had. Maybe that was my problem." But sitting there with Chavina, listening to her voice and watching her fingers intertwine with mine, it felt like maybe deep love wasn't a problem after all. Maybe it was exactly what she needed. What we both needed? 3 weeks earlier, I'd been standing in the immigration office sweating through my shirt, trying to explain my visa situation to a clerk who spoke about as much English as I spoke Thai. I was getting nowhere fast when this voice behind me said, "Excuse me, sir, you need help?" I turned around and there she was. Small, maybe 5'2", with long black hair and eyes that seemed to catch every bit of light in that fluorescent-lit government building. "I translate sometimes," she said. "What is problem?" Within 20 minutes, she'd sorted out my paperwork, explained the fees, and walked me through the whole process. The clerk was suddenly all smiles and efficiency. "Thank you," I said when we stepped outside. "How much do I owe you?" She waved her hand. "No money. You look lost." "I know feeling. That's how it started. Coffee the next day to say thanks properly. Then lunch a few days later when she texted asking how the visa worked out. Then daily messages that made me look forward to my phone buzzing. "Good morning, Harlan. Hope you sleep well. Thinking of you today. This song made me think of you. Simple words, but they filled up the empty spaces in my chest." She told me about her life bit by bit. Her mother was sick, needed medicine that cost more than Chavina made at the cafe. Her younger brother was in school, smart kid, but tuition was a struggle. She worked every day, sometimes translating for tourists at night, saving every baht. "I tired, Harlan," she said one evening as we walked along the river. "Feel like I carry everything alone, you know." I knew. God, I knew. "You don't have to carry it alone anymore," I told her. She stopped walking and looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "You mean that?" "Yeah, I mean it." And I did. We started spending real time together after that. She showed me temples I'd never have found on my own, took me to night markets where she'd translate the vendors' jokes and bargain for better prices. We'd sit on my apartment balcony in the evenings, her head on my shoulder, talking until the city lights blurred together. She introduced me to her Auntie B, an older woman who ran a small restaurant downtown. "Harlan, very good man," Auntie B told Chavina in broken English, while I sat there embarrassed. "You lucky girl. He take care of you." Chavina smiled and squeezed my hand. "I know. He's special." Those words, man. They burrowed into my heart and made a home there. After Linda died, I thought I'd used up my quota of being special to someone. But here was this beautiful young woman telling her family how lucky she was to have me. "I never feel safe before," she whispered one night after we'd made love for the first time. "But with you, I feel like nothing can hurt me." I held her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, and promised myself I'd never let anything hurt her. Never. "Good morning, hubby." Read the text that woke me up at 6 a.m. I stared at the word on my phone screen, feeling something warm spread through my chest. "Hubby." She'd never called me that before. I texted back, "Morning, beautiful. Sleep well?" Her reply came with a selfie, her hair messy from sleep, no makeup, smiling soft and sleepy. "Better when I dream of you. See you tonight?" That night she stayed over, and I cooked her dinner, my grandmother's meatloaf recipe that Linda used to love. Chavina ate every bite, made all the right noises about how good it was. "You take care of me so well," she said, washing the dishes while I dried. "Make me feel like real woman, not just girl who work all time." I kissed the top of her head. "You are a real woman. You're my woman." She turned in my arms, water still dripping from her hands, and looked up at me with those dark eyes. "You mean that? Even though I'm young? Even though I have nothing?" "You have everything that matters," I told her. "You have heart. You have kindness. That's more than most people ever get." She started crying then, soft tears that she tried to hide. I never had man say things like that, make me feel worthy. The next morning she was quiet over coffee. Finally she said, "Harlan, I have to tell you something. About my brother." "What about him?" "School fees are due next week. If I can't pay, he lose his spot. I've been working extra shifts, but it's not enough." She wasn't asking, just stating facts. But I could see the worry eating at her. "How much?" I asked. 15,000 baht. "But Harlan, I'm not asking you for money. I tell you because I might have to work more, see you less. I'm sorry." 15,000 baht. About $450. Less than I'd spent on truck repairs half a dozen times. I'll cover it, I said. Her head snapped up. What? No, I can't let you. Yes, you can. I want to help. That's what people do when they care about each other. She argued for 10 minutes, tears streaming down her face, saying she couldn't take my money, it wasn't right. But eventually, she let me hold her while she cried with relief. I pay you back, she whispered against my chest. Every baht. No payment necessary, I said. Just keep being you. That night, she made love to me like I was the only man in the world. Afterward, she traced patterns on my chest with her finger. I think I'm falling in love with you, Harlan. Real love, not just grateful love. I'm already there, I told her. Have been for weeks. She looked up at me, and in the dim light from the street lamp outside, I could see something soft and vulnerable in her expression. Maybe we could have real future together. When things more stable, maybe I could make you happy for a long time. I started imagining it then, helping her open that little cafe she'd mentioned wanting, watching her brother graduate, maybe even bringing her back to Minnesota to meet my kids. You already make me happy, I said, happier than I've been in years. She smiled and settled back against my chest. You are my only one, Harlan, my only love. The first time I noticed something off was on a Tuesday morning in her apartment. Her phone kept buzzing on the nightstand while she was in the shower, and I couldn't help but see the notifications lighting up the screen. Missing you, baby. When can I see you again? Think about you always. But they weren't from me. When she came out, towel wrapped around her hair, humming some Thai song, I said, Your phone was going crazy. Somebody really wants to talk to you. She glanced at it, face neutral. Just clients. People who need translation work. They text all time. Sounded pretty personal for translation work. She laughed, the sound light and unbothered. English not their first language. They not know how to be formal. Made sense, I guess, but it stuck with me. Over the next week, I started noticing other things. Her phone was always face down when we were together, always on silent. She'd step out to take calls, speaking rapid Thai or Vietnamese. I couldn't tell which. When she came back, she'd be distracted for a few minutes before snapping back to her usual self. Everything okay? I'd ask. Of course, hubby. Why, you ask? One evening, we were supposed to have dinner at that little place by the river, but she texted an hour before. So sorry, emergency at work. Rain check tomorrow? Tomorrow came, and she seemed different, distant, like her mind was somewhere else. You sure everything's all right? I asked over our pad thai. You seem, I don't know, stressed. She reached across the table and took my hand. Just tired, Harlan. Work been crazy. But I'm here now, with you. That's what matter. I believed her. Or I wanted to. But that night, after she'd gone home to help her mother with medicine, I lay in bed replaying the conversation. The way she'd hesitated before answering. The way she'd looked at her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. The way she'd been checking it all evening, quick glances that she thought were subtle. 2 nights later, we were watching a movie on my laptop when her phone rang. She glanced at it and declined the call. It rang again immediately. You should probably get that, I said. Maybe it's important. Not important, she said, but she was tense now, shoulders tight. The phone rang a 3rd time. She finally answered it, speaking in what I was pretty sure was Vietnamese, her voice sharp and irritated. The conversation lasted maybe 30 seconds, and when she hung up, she was flustered. Sorry, she said, not meeting my eyes. Work stuff. But I'd caught something. Before she'd switched to Vietnamese, she'd said David in English. Clear as day. Who's David? I asked. She blinked at me. What? You said David on the phone. Who's David? Oh, that David is. Client, American man. He want translation, but I busy tonight. Her explanation came too fast, too rehearsed. You don't trust me? She asked, and there was hurt in her voice. Real hurt, or at least it looked real. Of course I trust you, I said, and I apologized. We finished the movie, but something had shifted. Some small crack had appeared, and I couldn't unsee it. I wanted to surprise her. She'd mentioned working an extra shift at the cafe that Thursday, so I thought I'd bring her lunch. Maybe we could steal 20 minutes together before her afternoon translation appointments. The walk to the cafe felt good, the sun warm on my face, a bag of her favorite somtam in my hand. I was actually humming. That's how good I felt about surprising the woman I loved. The cafe sits on a corner, big windows facing the street, and I could see inside before I reached the door. That's when I saw them. Chavina was sitting at our table, the same table where she'd called me her only one. But she wasn't alone. A young guy, maybe early 30s, European looking, was sitting across from her. They were holding hands across the table, not just touching, holding hands like lovers do. Fingers intertwined, her thumb stroking his knuckles. She was laughing at something he'd said, that same laugh she used with me. The one that made her whole face light up. The one I thought was mine. I stood there on the sidewalk like an idiot, somtam getting heavy in my hand, watching the woman I loved look at another man the way she looked at me. He leaned forward and whispered something in her ear. She giggled and swatted his shoulder playfully. Intimate, familiar, like they'd done this dance 1,000 times. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. This had to be David, the client from the phone call, the one who just needed translation work. I wanted to storm in there, demand answers, make a scene, but I couldn't move, couldn't process what I was seeing. The bag slipped from my hand and hit the sidewalk, somtam spilling across the concrete. They didn't notice. We're too wrapped up in each other to notice anything. I turned around and walked away. Walked for miles through streets I didn't recognize, my mind spinning, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe he really was just a client. Maybe she was just being friendly, the way Thai people are hospitable to foreigners. But the way she'd touched his hand, the way she'd looked at him, I knew that look. She'd given it to me 12 times. That night she texted me at 8 p.m. So tired today, hubby. Work very busy. Miss you. Going to sleep early tonight. I stared at the message for an hour before typing back. Sleep well. See you tomorrow. I didn't sleep at all. Just lay there replaying every moment, every touch, every laugh, trying to convince myself I'd misunderstood what I'd seen. The next evening she showed up at my apartment crying. Actually crying, tears streaming down her face, shaking like a leaf. Harlan, I need to tell you something, she said before I could even close the door. Something happened today, and I scared you hear wrong story. My heart was pounding. What happened? I have cousin from Laos. He visiting this week. He come to cafe today, and I have lunch with him. But maybe someone see us and think wrong thing. I worried you hear rumor and think bad of me. She was sobbing now, genuine panic in her voice. I know how it looked to other people. Young Thai girl with foreign man, but he family Harlan. My cousin. I love only you. I held her while she cried into my chest, and I wanted to believe her so badly it hurt. Cousin from Laos. Family visit. Innocent explanation. Nobody said anything to me, I told her. But thank you for telling me. You believe me? She asked, looking up at me with red, swollen eyes. You trust me? Of course I trust you, I said, and she cried harder with relief. But that night, after she'd fallen asleep in my arms, I stared at the ceiling and wondered if love was supposed to feel this fragile. I couldn't let it go. 2 weeks after the cafe incident, I was lying next to Chavina at 3 a.m, listening to her breathe, and all I could think about was that hand holding. The way she'd looked at him, the way she'd lied so easily about working when she was obviously on a date. She'd left her phone charging on my nightstand, face up for once instead of face down. The screen lit up with a notification, and I saw part of a message. Good night, beautiful. Dream of. I held my breath, waiting for her to wake up, but she didn't move. Another message came through. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Then another, you make me so happy, babe. My hands were shaking as I reached for her phone. I knew this was wrong. Knew I was crossing a line. But I had to know. The screen was locked, but I'd seen her enter her passcode a dozen times. Her birthday. The messages that had just come in were from someone named Michael in her contacts. But as I scrolled up through their conversation, my blood went cold. Good morning, beautiful. Miss your touch. You're the only one for me. The same words she sent me. Almost exactly the same. I switched to her message thread with me, comparing. Good morning, hubby. Miss your arms around me. You are my only one. Back to Michael's thread. Good morning, baby. Miss your arms around me. You are my special one. I felt sick, actually nauseous, but I kept scrolling. Found another thread. David. My hands were trembling as I opened it. Same pattern. Same words. Same lies. Good night, my love. Think of you always. You make me feel safe. A third thread. James. British number. Same script. Same manipulation. Same promises. 4 conversations. 4 men. 4 versions of the same lie. Each of us thinking we were special. Each of us getting the identical treatment, the identical words, the identical photos. I took screenshots of everything. Don't know why. Evidence, maybe. Proof that I wasn't going crazy. The timestamp on Michael's last message was from 2 hours ago. While she was here with me, telling me she loved me, she was texting another man the same words. Chavina stirred beside me, and I quickly put the phone back on the nightstand. But she was already waking up, blinking at me in the dim light from the street. Harlan? What wrong? You awake? Couldn't sleep, I said. She sat up, instantly alert, and reached for her phone. Saw the screen was still lit. Saw me looking at her. You look at my phone? Chavina, you look at my phone. She was on her feet now, clutching the device to her chest, eyes wide with panic and fury. How dare you? How dare you not trust me? I know about Michael, I said quietly, and David, and James. Her face went white. For a moment she looked like she might deny it, might try to explain it away. Instead she exploded. You have no right to look my private things. I work hard, I take care of my family, I do what I have to do. You don't understand my life. I understand that you're lying to me, to all of us. Get out, she screamed. If you don't trust me, then get out. Go back to America. Find some old white woman who understands you better. She was throwing on her clothes, crying and yelling in Thai, slamming drawers and cabinets. Chavino, wait. No, wait. You ruin everything. You make me feel like criminal when I do nothing wrong. She was at the door now, fully dressed, phone clutched in her hand like a weapon. I thought you different. I thought you loved me for real. But you just like all men. Think you own me because you give money. The door slammed so hard the pictures on my wall rattled. I sat on the edge of my bed in the sudden silence, staring at the screenshots on my phone. 4 of us. Maybe more. All getting the same treatment. All believing we were her only one. All paying for the privilege of being lied to. 3 days of silence. 3 days of staring at my phone, willing it to buzz with her name. 3 days of walking past the cafe and seeing her serving other customers, laughing and smiling like nothing had happened. Like we'd never happened. On the 4th day, I broke. I typed out a long message, deleted it, typed another one, deleted that too. Finally, I just wrote the truth. I'm not angry. I just want to understand. Can we talk? She didn't respond for 2 days. When she finally did, it was just 4 words. Meet me tonight, cafe. I got there early, ordered coffee I didn't want, and waited. She showed up 20 minutes late, looking beautiful and tired and distant. Different than I'd ever seen her. Guarded. You want to talk? she said, sliding into the chair across from me. So we talk. Are you in love with any of us? I asked. Or are we all just, what? Income? She stared at me for a long moment. Then, quietly, you think very bad of me. I think you're doing what you have to do to survive. But I need to know if any of it was real. What is real, Harlan? You come here, lonely old man, want young woman to make you feel alive again. I need money for family, for future. We both get something. That not real enough? Her honesty hit me like a slap. So none of it meant anything to you. I didn't say that. She leaned forward, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman I'd fallen in love with. You want to know truth? You are my favorite. Michael is young but stupid. David has money but he mean sometimes. James, she shrugged. James is just lonely. But you, Harlan, you make me laugh. You make me feel pretty. You treat me like human being, not just body. But you're still with all of them. I am with nobody, she said firmly. I am alone. I take care of myself. You think because I sleep with you, because I say nice words, I belong to you? This not how world work? I felt something crack inside my chest. I thought it was how love worked. Love? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think this love? You think love is man from rich country come to poor country and buy girlfriend? That not love, Harlan? That is business. It felt like love to me. Maybe it was, for you. But for me? She paused, seemed to be searching for the right words. For me, it was survival, and little bit hope. Hope that maybe one of you would be different. Would see me as person, not just pretty young thing to make you feel young too. I do see you as a person. No, you see me as woman you save, woman who needs you. That make you feel important, make you feel strong. But real me is survivor. Real me do whatever necessary to take care of family. You cannot love that person because you don't know her. I sat there silent, coffee growing cold, watching her check her phone. Probably Michael or David or James wondering where she was. What do you want from me, Chavina? Nothing, she said, and I believed her. I want nothing from you anymore. You find out truth, you cannot unknow it. So now we finished. What if I could accept it? The truth. What if I just wanted to be the one you chose? She looked at me with something that might have been pity. Choose for what? To be only one? To be husband? You live in fantasy, Harlan. I cannot give you what you want because what you want is not real. Maybe we could make it real. No, she said, standing up, we cannot, because you will always wonder, always check my phone, always count other men, and I will always need to survive. Some things cannot be fixed with love. She left money on the table for her coffee and walked away. I sat there for an hour, watching the sun set over Chiang Rai, finally understanding that love and loneliness could feel exactly the same. She agreed to meet me one last time. Same cafe, same table where this had all started, but when she walked in, everything was different. She sat down across from me like I was a stranger. No smile, no warmth, no hand reaching for mine, just business. You want to say goodbye properly? She asked. Okay, we say goodbye. I keep thinking about what you said the other night. I started. About survival and fantasy. Maybe you're right. Maybe I was living in a fantasy. Maybe? She almost smiled. Harlan, you come to Thailand like many men, looking for young woman to make you feel alive. You find me. I was what you looking for. Story should end there. But it didn't feel like a story. It felt real. Feel real, yes. Because you need it to feel real. And I good at making men feel things they want to feel. The honesty was brutal. No sugarcoating, no gentle letdown, just truth served cold. So none of it was real for you? Some was real. I like you, Harlan. You kind man. You treat me with respect. That part real. But love? No. Love would mean I choose you over everything else. I cannot do that. Because of the others? Because of my life. My mother's still sick. My brother still needs school money. My future's still uncertain. You want me to choose love over survival, but you never have to make that choice. You have pension. You have safety. You can afford to love. I wanted to argue, to tell her I'd take care of everything, that she wouldn't need the others. But I finally understood that wasn't love she'd be choosing. That would just be trading 4 sponsors for 1. What about the things you said? About me being your only one? I say what each man need to hear. You need to feel special, so I make you feel special. Michael need to feel young. David need to feel powerful. James need to feel wanted. I give everyone what they need. And what do you need? For the first time since she'd sat down, she looked directly at me. Really looked. I need to not be poor anymore. I need my family to be safe. I need to control my own life. Romance is luxury I cannot afford. We sat in silence for a while. I watched her check her phone, respond to a message, probably making plans with one of the others. I wish things could have been different, I said finally. Different how? You wish I was rich American woman your age? You wish you were young Thai man with no money? Nothing can be different, Harlan. Things are what they are. She stood up to leave, and I realized I'd been hoping for something. A moment of regret, maybe. A sign that she'd miss me, that I'd mattered more than she was admitting. Instead, she just looked tired. Take care of yourself, she said. Find someone who can love you the way you want to be loved, but find her in your own world, not in mine. I watched her walk away through the cafe window, her phone already pressed to her ear. Probably David or Michael or James ready to give them whatever they needed to hear. I paid for both our coffees and sat there until the sun went down, grieving for something that had never really existed in the first place. I'm back in Minnesota now, talking to you from my kitchen in Duluth. Same house I shared with Linda, but it doesn't feel like a tomb anymore. Took me 8 months to get here, to this place where I can tell this story without my voice breaking, where I can admit what happened without wanting to crawl into a hole. The first month after I came home, I was a mess. Kept checking my phone for messages that never came. Kept wondering what she was doing, who she was with, whether she ever thought about me. My daughter Sarah noticed I was off, kept asking if I was okay. Finally told her the whole story one night when she came over for dinner. Expected her to laugh at me, call me a fool. Instead, she just hugged me and said, "Dad, you're human. Humans need connection. There's no shame in that." Shame, though. There was plenty of shame. Shame for being so easily manipulated. Shame for believing I was special when I was just another client. Shame for falling in love with someone young enough to be my daughter. Shame for thinking money could buy genuine affection. But here's what I figured out. Sitting in this kitchen night after night, going over every conversation, every text, every moment, Chavina wasn't the villain in this story. She was just trying to survive in a world that didn't give her many options. Was she manipulative? Yeah. Did she lie? Absolutely. But she never promised me exclusivity. I just assumed it because that's what I needed to believe. I created the fantasy as much as she did. I transferred money to her account for 3 months after I came home. Old habits, I guess. Or maybe guilt. Then one day, I just stopped. Blocked her number, deleted her photos, canceled the transfers. Not out of anger, out of acceptance. She was right about one thing. Some things can't be fixed with love, especially when it's not really love at all, just loneliness wearing a disguise. I miss Thailand sometimes. Miss the warmth, the excitement, the feeling that adventure was still possible at my age. But I don't miss the confusion, the constant questioning, the exhaustion of trying to decode every word and gesture. I don't miss feeling like I had to buy affection or wondering if I was being played. These days, I volunteer at the food bank downtown. Started going to a grief support group, Not just for Linda, but for other losses too. Met some good people. Had coffee with a woman named Ruth last week. She's 62, a retired teacher, lost her husband 2 years ago. We talked about books and grandchildren and the brutal Minnesota winter. No games, no scripts, no wondering if she meant what she said. Just two people getting to know each other honestly. Will it turn into something romantic? Maybe, maybe not. But it feels real in a way that nothing with Chavina ever did. I don't hate her. How can I hate someone for doing what they had to do to survive? But I don't romanticize it either. It was what it was. A transaction that I mistook for love because I needed it to be love. The hardest part isn't admitting I was fooled. The hardest part is admitting that part of me would probably do it again. That loneliness can make you that desperate, that willing to believe what you need to believe, but I'm working on that. Working on being okay with being alone until I find something real. Something that doesn't require translation or wire transfers or wondering if I'm the only one. I was one of 4, maybe more. For 6 months, I shared the woman I thought I loved with men I'll never meet. It hurt like hell when I found out. But you know what? I survived it. And sitting here now, watching snow fall on the lake where Linda and I used to walk, I'm okay. Learned something about myself, about love, about the difference between needing someone and loving them, about how easy it is to mistake kindness for something deeper when you're desperate for connection. Some lessons cost more than others. This one cost me about $15,000 in 6 months of my life. But I'm still here. Still capable of real love, real connection, still capable of starting over at 66. That's got to count for something. The next time I fall in love, and there will be a next time, it'll be with someone who doesn't need saving. Someone who chooses me not because I can solve her problems, but because she genuinely wants to share her life with mine. Someone who says, I love you, and means just me, not me and 3 others. Just me. I'm okay with waiting for that. I'm okay with being alone until then, because now I know the difference between love and loneliness. And I won't settle for loneliness wearing love's mask ever again. That's my promise to myself. That's how this story ends.